There are a lot of angry women out there accusing men of electing Donald Trump, and to them, all I have to say is, honey, yes.
Hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad.
The election of Donald Trump has a lot of ladies out there expressing their disapproval in no uncertain terms. But among many of these videos are a lot of women pointing the finger at men. Some of these women are going so far in protest that they are shaving their heads off in defiance of the patriarchy.
Now hey girl, you're the best in the world. And hey hun, don't look now, but you just won. You, strong woman, strong woman, strong woman, strong woman, strong woman, strong woman, strong woman.
While it wouldn't be totally accurate to say that men are entirely to blame for the election of Donald Trump, it's somewhat accurate. The truth is that men have been drifting right for years now, and it has nothing to do with wanting to reestablish a patriarchy and dominate women, as many feminists have liked to say. The truth is, the reason that we've been drifting right is because the left has been pushing us that way. Specifically leftist women in the feminist movement. According to the Associated Press, 53% of men aged 18 to 44 came out and voted for Trump, while 57% of men 45 and over pulled the lever for the bad orange man. I think the biggest shock here was that the young male population came out and voted for Donald Trump, and for many on the left, the youth voting for Republicans in any way is just an unforgivable sin. The left often covets the youth. It spends an inordinate amount of time, manpower, and money trying to court young people into keeping them well within their voting blocks.
Stop, Kira.
Gee, how could that programming have failed so badly? I think this singular fact has the left's jimmies so rustled, and as the salt started to flow, so did all the accusations about the inherent social sins of men. But if you really stop to look at the foundational reasons that people voted for Trump, you'll find that a villain origin story started not with sexism, but with sexism from the modern feminist left. Yes, it was the left's vaunted virtue of feminism that caused many men to go right. And yeah, there were much greater reasons to vote for Trump. For instance, there was a horrible economy, there was an open border, job prospects weren't looking very good, the future wasn't very bright, and the left had absolutely no plan to fix it.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
And they knew that Trump had the chops to fix it all. I mean, he'd done it before, why wouldn't he do it again? Naturally, he's the better choice. But that's why a lot of people chose Trump, not just specifically men. Many men voted for Trump as a result of being pushed out of the Democrat Party and leftist culture. And while this has been a problem for decades, I would say within the last 10 years, the anti-male problem on the left has gotten really bad. I've been covering the left's attacks on men for so long that I've probably forgotten more stories that I could actually remember off the top of my head. But I can remember some big ones. You've probably watched for ages as pop culture attempted to take men from being the strong, confident head of the household to the idiotic, bumbling fool who is always being shown up and guided by his intelligent and beautiful wife. Movies and television shows feature the stupid husband trope so much, it more or less became an industry standard, and the echoes of which can be seen in many movies where women are all around better than the men at everything around them. You especially see this in Disney movies nowadays. All in good fun? Hardly. Men were being minimized in society in a big way, and it got so bad to the point where leftists started to consider fatherhood to be completely and totally unnecessary. In fact, in 2015, Angelsoft decided to release a commercial that thanked mothers on Father's Day.
Anything that needs help, a person, a thing, an animal, she will find it and she will nurse it back to health.
Always very affectionate, very hugging and kissing and all of that.
Everything you've done for me. Happy Father's Day, Mom.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
And as this degradation continued, men started to be looked at as the villains of society, and this narrative was pushed by Democrat politicians, activist groups, the media, and especially universities. There were these insane studies that were coming out that claimed 1 in 5 women were being essayed by men at university. Male students were being kicked out of universities over mere accusations with no evidence whatsoever. In fact, many of these accusations ended up being complete falsehoods. But feminist pop culture was so adamant to prove that they were right, that men were as dangerous and horrible as they said that they were, that in 2014, Rolling Stone released a story about a girl named Jackie. Jackie told Rolling Stone that an entire fraternity had taken her, and Rolling Stone published the story without trying to find any more information. This prompted a real investigation to happen, but lo and behold,
a reporter for the Washington Post interviewed Jackie after the Rolling Stone article came out. He says her statements to him contradicted Rolling Stone's reporting.
She said, well, maybe the party wasn't at Phi Psi, and then she told me that maybe the person who attacked her wasn't a member of the fraternity at all.
Rolling Stone released a statement Friday, seeming to place blame on the accuser, saying there now appear to be discrepancies in Jackie's account. We have come to the conclusion that our trust in her was misplaced.
You're not an intellectual. You're a fake and a fraud.
these men were completely innocent. Jackie was a liar. And to this day, Rolling Stone's reputation has not recovered. Regardless, the online nonsense wouldn't die down. You had hashtags trending like yes, all men that suggested that all men were just grapists in waiting.
He's the grapist. The grapist? That's his name?
The grapist. Classic.
This basically created a mainstream mentality where men were just garbage beings capable of only evil acts. I mean, you can kind of see this attitude still happening today. There are plenty of women out there who say that they will get abortions if they end up getting pregnant with a boy.
Lately, I've been feeling like I really want another child, but I'm holding back because I don't know what I'd do if I had a boy. I don't know how to raise a boy when I genuinely hate modern men and masculinity. Do I have too much anger and trauma with the patriarchy to raise and love a healthy boy? You can abort it if it's a boy and then try again. I would. She is allowed to refuse to create yet another oppressor. I have aborted a baby once I found out it was a boy. I'm a staunch and unapologetic radfem. I have never regretted my decision. What I know for sure is that if I had kept it, I would have loved it like I would love a daughter.
And then there was Gamergate.
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
But that's its own video. Just suffice to say, the feminist left never forgave us for that ass whooping. There's still a ton of anti-male stuff happening in the corporate world today, but I think that the peak of it, for me at least, was the 2019 Gillette commercial where they basically just painted men as absolute garbage. The ad was titled "We Believe," and it basically depicted men doing every single horrible thing that they accuse us of. It's so bad.
We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
By the way, the fallout of that ad was absolutely delicious. It cost P&G billions of dollars. I mean, maybe don't attack your customers. Looking at you, Disney. The point wasn't just to hate men, though. It was to paint masculinity as this dangerous entity in our society that needed to either be minimized or completely eliminated entirely. Women are the victims, masculinity is the victimizer, and for the betterment of society, masculinity has to go. Are they right? Yes, masculinity is dangerous, but that's a good thing. One of my favorite quotes about men comes from author John Eldredge, who wrote Wild at Heart, where he said, quote, "Yes, a man is a dangerous thing. So is a scalpel. It can wound or it can save a life. You don't make it safe by making it dull. You put it in the hands of someone who knows what he's doing." Masculinity itself is not toxic. It literally raises civilization from the ground and keeps it safe. However, it does need to be honed, because if it's not, it goes wild, and one of society's greatest angels can become one of its most dangerous demons. Now, modern feminism never stopped to consider the value of masculinity or even what it represented. All it needed was a villain for its victims. And as they were doing this, if you complained about it, you were either sexist or an incel or too stupid to understand. You would be blamed for things that you're not even responsible for. You were ridiculed, ignored, and dismissed. And this did create something of a horrendous backlash, but instead of men taking it out on the world around them, as feminism accused them of doing, many men decided to take it out on themselves. Many men have fallen into depression and were not able to get the help due to a society not understanding or wanting to deal with them, dismissing them, and many of them unalived themselves. The male self-deletion rate is horrible in our society. And what was the left's reaction to it?
Today I saw a thing in that said a lot of men, white men, were committing suicide. And I almost thought, yeah, great. And then I thought about it a little more, and I thought, well, maybe you shouldn't say that in public.
Wow! Do you see where this is going? The left was leaving a loud and clear message to men. You are nothing here. You are not welcome. Only the left realized way too late that that was a bad thing. I covered this in a previous video, but as you can see, as the 2024 election went on, they noticed a very masculine-sized hole in the Democrat voting pool. Only then was the Democrat Party willing to reach out to men, but when they did, it was so bad.
I'm a man. I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
And I'm man enough.
I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Neat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Yeah. Guys totally sit like that.
I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
God.
Woman wants to be president? Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
You already had me at full-throated.
As you can see, the left wanted to be buddies with men all of a sudden, but arm's length buddies. They wanted you to vote, but they didn't want you nearby necessarily. In fact, what they wanted to do was try to redefine masculinity. The new masculinity was emotionally more open, softer, and willing to sit down, shut up, and let a woman take charge.
My full-throated endorsement.
They started saying people like Doug Emhoff was the new stellar example of masculinity.
Has being second gentleman changed your own view of perceived gender roles or what it means to be a man?
There's too much of toxicity, masculine toxicity out there, and we've kind of confused what it means to be a man, what it means to be masculine, where you've got this trope out there that you've got to be tough and, angry and lash out to be strong. It's just the opposite.
Of course, Emhoff also cheated on his wife, impregnated his nanny, emotionally abused her until she miscarried, and reportedly slapped his girlfriend so hard across the face she spun around because he thought she was flirting with a valet.
My full-throated endorsement.
But you get the point. The left hated men, and especially leftist women, as designed, and so the men had a choice. They could either continue hanging out on the left, where they were despised, hated, blamed for every little problem under the sun, or, as the left was doing all of this, the right was putting out a different signal. The right liked men. It cherished masculinity. It understood male values. It even actively defended men. It encouraged men to be themselves and improve. It actually listened to men. It validated their concerns and fears. In other words, what it did, and this is really important, the left needs to listen to this, it treated men like people. Naturally, men started to drift right in every age group, including Gen Z. And why not? I mean, even the women on the right were just hotter. And they didn't have penises.
Who is this?
It's ma'am.
She sounds hideous.
Well, she's a guy, so...
And these women welcomed these men. They wanted them to be men. They appreciated their masculine qualities. And naturally, that influence began to grow on men. Messages of capitalism, pro-America, family values, all of that began to seep into the male mind as they migrated right. And before you knew it, you had an army of male Trump voters who couldn't wait to get out there and vote for Bad Orange Man. And not just white men either. Hispanic and black men came out in droves, much larger numbers than usual for a Republican candidate. So yes, a lot of these bald-headed women on TikTok are right. It was sexism that got Trump elected, but not the perceived sexism of men. It was the blatant, prideful sexism of the feminist left. Without its open anti-male prejudice, many men probably would not have drifted away from the left and been embraced by the right. And Trump would probably still be elected because holy shit, this economy. But not by as much. So you could look at the 2024 election as masculinity's revenge against the left for years and years of abuse. The question now is, will the left learn anything from this, and will they start being nicer to men? Probably not. As it stands, the modern Democrat Party and the left in general is built on a gynocentric mentality. Modern feminism rules the roost. And since a lot of its tactics involve creating victims and oppressors, they're going to need some oppressors for their favorite victims, the woman. I say woman in quotes because sometimes the left completely forgets what a woman is.
It's man.
I think it's going to have to take something really drastic to knock the left off of this path and once again get to a point where it can start embracing men again. But until that time, great job, patriarchy! We did it, baby! Take that, women! Woo! Better start putting on those handmade robes! We're coming for you!